Well, then here we are. The sound levels are already great. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Papagan. Welcome to another episode of There's a Place, the ASMR talk show. The show that feels good to hear. And our show tonight is going to feel great to hear. Don't even worry. The monologue tonight is kind of intertwined with how I came to book our guest for the evening. But, and I apologize, I talk about a lot of the same subjects. It's a weekly show, so there's only so many experiences I have. But anyway, tour business, been talking about that a lot over the summer doing the show. So I've decided that I'm going to go into business for myself, because you're never going to make any money working for somebody else. You've really got to take on that entrepreneurial spirit. That's what worked for Andrew Carnegie. That's what worked for Mark Cuban. That's what worked for Donald Trump. Just take the bull by the horns and do your own thing. So I'm coming up with my own tour of Hollywood that I'm going to start doing. But this is going to be overlooked places, unusual places, things that are a little off the beaten path that you wouldn't know about. So in researching this tour that I'm doing, I'm out on Hollywood Boulevard, and I want my tour to end at a bar, a nice classic Hollywood watering hole. So I was doing some research this weekend, going out, trying all the different bars on Hollywood Boulevard. And by the second, I'm gonna say second and a half, the walk on the way to the third one, I realized that I was basically just living. Hollywood Boulevard is a big tourist attraction. I go there for work. I was going there for work. But in going to the bars, having a good time, just taking things in, trying to see as much as I could, it was kind of like I was on vacation. So that's really the lesson, and it made it so much more enjoyable. So the lesson is, you were living in Los Angeles, you might be living in Philadelphia or Montreal or Singapore, wherever you are out there. Someone somewhere is coming to your city as a tourist to see everything the city has to offer, to experience the food and the culture of the people. So when you're in your hometown, pretend you're on vacation, pretend you're a tourist. Go to all those places that you think are tacky, try a bunch of different bars, go to happy hour, what do you care, you're on vacation, right? But that'll really help you enjoy a place. Take pictures, talk to people, live every day like you're on vacation. And I think you might enjoy things a little bit more in this vacation. Well, when I was on Hollywood Boulevard, researching this tour, getting a story to tell you, I happened upon a good friend of mine. He's been on the show before a few months ago. Atelston Fitzgerald Holder the first. He accosted me on the streets of Hollywood. He said, "When are you going to have me on again?" I said, "I don't know, maybe December, 100th episode." He said, "No, that's no good. We have to do it immediately. There's things I need to talk about, important issues." And I'll admit it, when Atelston was on the show before, I don't know what he was talking about. It really threw me for a loop. He's a very complex guy. I don't think at the end of this interview we'll be any closer, maybe we will be, to understanding him, but always an interesting person to talk to. So here he is making a second appearance on the show, Atelston Fitzgerald Holder the first.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Can I give one joke before I sit?
Yeah, you can just pepper the jokes in and out. That's fine.
Sit right?
Do whatever do jokes sitting, standing, whatever.
How do I look? Cute?
The monitor is right there. It actually is, so that would be your camera, but
cute.
Maybe the main, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready now.
You didn't do a joke.
Oh, I need to give a joke?
Well, you said you were going to do a joke.
Yeah.
You do. We just talk. You can do one later.
Yeah. So, can we just talk?
Yeah, that's fine.
Relationship is about talk.
Yeah, no, it's just a little weird that you
Yeah.
You came out and you're like, you did your thing. I've noticed you do this on stage. You have a move where, like, before you say something, you kind of go like that.
I do this, right? I do.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. That's my idiosyncratic move. Everyone have their own idiosyncrasies.
That's true.
Unique characteristics about their personality that you tend to see. Some it lays dormant, some are quite pervasive in their everyday lifestyle, and others it's just who they are, their authentic being. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Atelston Fitzgerald Holder the first. Yeah.
And the last.
Yeah, and the last.
Yeah.
Well, you have not seen the last of me.
No.
Look how sweet I look. Mwah, I can kiss myself. How do I send a kiss and look at myself simultaneous? Mwah. Conquering kiss. High five, son. Where the bitch is at? Whew.
Oh, I don't know. It's kind of late.
Okay, so let's talk about epistemology, existentialism, ontology, metaphysics, bitches and hoes.
Okay. Maybe we'll start with the bitches and hoes.
Yeah,
and
I like the bitches and
work
hoes.
our way. Do you like hoes?
Yeah, I like hoes. Because I grew up in agriculture, you know. So we had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was like, he was obsessed with tools.
Yeah. And your mother was a veterinarian, so you got to learn about bitches.
Yeah, yeah. Ha ha,
You get
you're
it?
killing it, he's killing it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So you were very, and I got to commend you on this, and actually, maybe even thank you for this.
Mm-hmm.
You were very insistent about coming on the show again.
Oh, absolutely.
May I ask why?
For a number of different reasons. It's going to inflate your ego. Regardless, I'm going to inflate it anyway. So I find it intriguing. It's a beautiful platform. Probably one of the best studio, if not the best studio experience I've ever had. And I felt like this is the perfect environment to sort of encapsulate and put into perspective a number of different ideas I wanted to put out there. So yes, your medium was the epitome of what I idealize. Sometimes you have a vision. It's like a director have an audition. He knows what he wants, but he can't put it into perspective.
He needs other people.
Right, it has to illuminate in the actor's personality or persona. I feel what you do sort of exemplifies that. So now you could take your inflated ego and just ascend into the heavens.
So your vision is my reality?
Here we go, me and my big mouth.
Wow.
The narcissist has taken over the floor. But you know what I mean. I like.
I know. Well, thank you. Well, thanks for coming by. I know we had a lot of subjects to talk about.
Yeah.
The last episode we did was a very existential show. Talked about a lot of crazy issues. Really, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
You're a tough nut to crack, Atelston.
Yeah.
You would agree with that?
Yeah. My psychiatrist told me that as well. Psych. Psych game. You play the psych game?
What do you think a psychologist or psychiatrist would tell you if you were not joking around and you saw them?
Well, ironically, years ago I received an email from a psychologist said a single one of your video has enough information to keep a group of psychologists and psychiatrists busy. Hold on. A single one of your videos have enough information to keep a group of psychologists and psychiatrists busy for months.
And did you take that as a compliment? Or?
I take things as an indirect compliment when someone has a misconception. There's a term in psychology, what's the term called? Prevalently used the term, which is the mirror effect, or where someone's perception of you is centered around their own personal ideology.
What a man seeth in others, he seeth in himself.
He sees it himself. So someone who is assuming I'm using a dictionary to publish a paper is actually it's an inadvertent compliment or indirect, because from his perspective he is incapable of achieving such a task with some external assistance. That's
a very specific example. Has somebody accused you of using a dictionary to write a paper?
No, I just came up with a reference.
Okay.
I did come up with.
So you think specific?
Yeah, I mean it's equivalent to someone assuming that you have friends or associates as to why you have a platform like this, rather than not discredit you for your hard-earned efforts to achieve this, right? So,
what a man seeth in others.
You can't crack me, so don't even try. So you might as well venture into some interdisciplinary or overlapping.
I can't crack you.
No, it's impossible. I don't even crack myself.
Well, I'm not going to take that as a challenge. I'm going to take you at your word.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're uncrackable. But the uncrackable things that you say will reveal something about your true self.
Well,
So by doing interviews like this and your comedy and your papers and all that stuff, it does, even if you don't want to be cracked as a nut, it does say something about yourself. This trail that you leave of ideas and thoughts, that is telling in its own way.
Yeah, because we are sort of in a situational irony, because there is not to crack. This is who I am, my authentic self. There's nothing beyond this point. I can transcend into different dimensions. Yo, you only have a freaking joke I'm about to kill. My blood clot Jamaica, you know. Me go suck your bumbo clot mama. You talk to a bumbo clot Jamaican like that. Me no want to hear you go suck your mama. I am from Zimbabwe. Sakpase, Zabule. I'm Hitchat. You want to talk to me? You want to talk to me? You want to go back to Africa with me? In Trinidad and Tobago, we are potong dog and we are vagrant. Trinidad and Tobago. My madre from the Dominican Republic, my padre from Puerto Rico. Ha tenido pulmonía progresiva o otro infección del pulmón. Hi, my name is Benny. I'm from San Francisco. Hey! It's less about character and more about transitioning into different dimensions. Do you understand that?
I do. Each of those things you pulled, though, for that example,
yes,
says a little bit about something about you, though.
I believe so. It says that I can be what... You know, in Zimbabwe, we did not have a lot of utensils.
Is this how they talk in Zimbabwe? I haven't been.
We had to go in the back and we had to dig holes and we had to dupe in the holes.
Is Zimbabwe underwater? It sounds kind of like
it's
maybe.
Kind of, yes, we are. In Zimbabwe, we live underwater in a boat. And the boat is in a submarine, yes.
A yellow submarine?
A yellow submarine.
You all live in a yellow submarine.
A yellow submarine in a boat, in a submarine under the ocean.
Well, do you understand the irony in that even if you try to keep things, you say I'm not going to crack you, even if I don't crack you or you're trying to discover things about yourself, people watching this will make assumptions about you and will draw their own conclusions.
There's nothing to crack. I am not into people I don't sit and discuss people. I discuss ideas and concepts. So there's nothing to crack.
But who comes up with ideas and concepts?
Well,
individuals, people.
You want to discuss the algorithm I'm building? I mean, that's...
Yeah, let's hear about the algorithm.
That's interesting. These are the things I discuss. I don't sit here and discuss movies or sports or what actor did. I don't have an interest in that. I discuss other things. So what you're searching for is in your imagination. What you're searching for is in front of you. It is your inability to accept what you see. So everyone's not the same.
But there are certain things that I know that you're, a great thinker and businessman and comedian and all that stuff. But there are certain things that like you have a car, you have a driver's license, somebody taught you how to drive. That's an experience that a lot of people have had.
Yeah, but I didn't come on your show to discuss driving cars. I just come on your show to discuss. I'm in the process of building an algorithm.
Well, yeah, so let's talk about the algorithm.
Yeah, I didn't come here to discuss driving cars. I'm here to discuss things that's meaningful, I guess.
Okay.
I think time is imperative, don't you think?
Time's an illusion.
Well.
We can debate this.
Well, sure. So what are we up to discuss?
About time?
No, I don't know.
Well, tell me about the algorithm. Tell me about the algorithm.
What would you like to discuss?
Well, I mean, just to kind of see where it goes. We got another half hour.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this magnificent talk show.
You said it was a great talk show.
Yeah, I said
and you loved the platform, yeah. Let's hear about the algorithm.
What would you like to hear about?
What is the algorithm?
Okay, so basically I'm in the process of building an algorithm, which is a set of computational inputs, right? The concept of the theory is called linguistic organic search engine theory, right? LOSC-T, right? Which is the acronym, LOSE-T. I put the hyphen in there just to give the acronym a sort of peculiarity, So basically, it's a taxonomic approach to disambiguity and ambiguity. One of the prevalent problems they have, well, one of primarily in computational linguistics or natural language processing is, which is machines' inability to decipher ambiguity. The term is called word sense disambiguation, which is a problem that precedes back even before the 50s. Now, I came up with this idea of linguistic organic search engine theory by creating a taxonomy of all the variances of ambiguity in language. Now, linguistics primarily, this is centered around linguistics because computational linguistics is centered around machines' ability to communicate language just as effectively as human or on the same level. One of the big problems with that is literary devices. Machines have basically stuff like irony, sarcasm, condescension, and all these sort of devices that meaning is sort of predicated on not the literal statement itself, but the contrasted interpretation derived from tone. So what I did was study a number of algorithms, primarily Google, Apple, Microsoft, AOL, and what's the last one? Yahoo. And I studied all their flaws. So I found a couple hundred flaws in these algorithms, so I started writing a number of different academic papers from a linguistic perspective. Now, what I did was, since I kind of have a rudimentary understanding of linguistics in terms of the subsets, phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, sociolinguistics, and psycholinguistics, I explore each subset within the context of the flaws I see in the algorithm, and I publish a number of different papers. So far, I have 27 chapters published on the subjects. And what this does is it doesn't really solve all the problems with the algorithms. What it does is actually, it sort of augments, modifies, and alters algorithms to be more effective in the search query. Now, one of the big problems with algorithms primarily is that words is predicated on a high level of ambiguity. And what the algorithm does is sort of unequivocal. It unequivocates meaning instead of augmented meaning. So a word that may have triple or four meaning, the algorithm itself is not impartial in what it search query, right? So like the word bark, which refers to, is a noun as the tree bark, and as the dog, which is the dog barking, you might do a search, but you might find the noun might be treated as the primary meaning, and the bark as the verb, or the verb might be treated as a secondary meaning. So you have the dominant and the subordinate meaning. The algorithm kind of unequivocates that, doesn't augment the meaning, and it doesn't treat the semantics of words with any sort of impartial settings. No, we have a big elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is that meaning and definition is sort of predicated by big advertisers. Because big advertisers, linguistics primarily was considered a form of human communication. What Google has done, and a lot of big corporations does, has augmented linguistics into a commodity. So it's value now. So you'll have big corporations or brands will pay thousands and thousands of dollars for the value of keywords. So how the search query, how the algorithm differentiates meaning is primarily predicated on brands. So we're dealing with a sort of trichotomy. We're dealing with language, we're dealing with computational linguistics, and then we're dealing with big corporations and the investment in keywords. So it's a big subject. So this is kind of the rough draft of what I'm doing on this project.
An algorithm to erase ambiguity?
No, it's to augment the variances. And it's a set of computational inputs to augment it.
Is this a big problem with other algorithms? People are searching stuff and they can't find what they're looking for?
This, not necessarily. It's hard to put this into perspective. These things are very practical. And you can't explain these things theoretically unless you're dealing with, let's say, an expert in search engine optimization or search engine marketing, or you're dealing with a linguistic expert who could sort of put these things in perspective. Because you're dealing with multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and sort of areas that overlap. There's two distinct areas you're dealing with here. One is areas that overlap, right? Physics meet music, that's where mutually exclusive disciplines overlap. right? Multidisciplinary areas is where you have two mutually exclusive areas that sort of converge. Computation and linguistics, there's a sort of convergence there, sort of hybrid. So I have an infatuation for niche. I have like tiny little niches, and I find like overlapping and multidisciplinary areas, like a tiny little narrow area that I find intriguing and I like exploring.
Do you have an interest, some training in linguistics, and then the search engine stuff, and you're like, this is where it overlaps. This is made for me, the segment of the pie.
I could give you the history how I came to this point.
Okay.
Years ago I had a deep-seated infatuation with linguistics, primarily studying humor and comedy and literary devices and a number of different concepts that humor or the punchline or what laughter derives from is predicated on. So I started publishing 3 books simultaneously. The whole objective was to publish these books in papers, publish them I kill 2 birds with 1 stone, publish a bunch of papers, and then consolidate them into books. So I started publishing 3 books simultaneously. One is called Aggregating the Figurative Aspect of Linguistic Disparity, where I'm going to take literary devices and create a taxonomy of all the commonalities different devices share in common. So that's aggregating the figurative aspect of linguistic disparity. The second book was called The Cross-Platforming Between Mutually Exclusive Domains, where I'll study different disciplines and find commonalities they share from an analogical and metaphorical perspective. This all comes back to linguistics. So you have aggregating the figurative aspect of linguistic disparity, the cross-platforming of mutually exclusive domains, and the third book I started was called The Pervasiveness of Ambiguity in Semantics, where I explore every facet of ambiguity in semantics, primarily homonyms, homophones, homograph, heteronym, heterograph, polysemy, monosemy, capitonym, paronym, hyphonym, meronym, and holonym. Those are 14 I call so far. So while publishing these books, I felt sort of isolated because it's just centered around a tiny fraction of academic appeal, right? So I was sort of lackadaisical in the publication, and I felt at the time that I didn't have the intellectual capacity required to put these things in perspective. So again, it's 3 books simultaneously, so the process takes years. So years went by, and I'm writing for these news sites, the Harlem Times, Ask a New Yorker, and Ask a New Yorker, and Newsplace, an Australian-based news site. And I started freelancing for editor, a news publisher of his own newspaper in Australia. And we started discussing a number of different problems that search engine optimization experts deal with, right, on a daily basis. And when I started to do my research in search engine optimization, I saw a big gap. And then I saw, wow, and so instead of writing all these academic papers on linguistics and in relations to humor and physics, I said, well, here's an area that I could actually put some things into perspective with that has practical application. So this is where I sort of converge all these ideas now and decided to take this sort of knowledge and implement it in language, in algorithms. Because the problem that a lot of these algorithms have is with language, the inefficiency of language and the idiosyncrasies of language.
Well, speaking of language, that explanation was very dense.
I apologize. I'm so sorry.
No,
Please
I don't
accept my sincere apology.
You know, as a Arub, to me, how would you put that in like elevator pitch, like what your algorithm is going to do?
Well, I mean, it's self-explanatory. I have 27 papers published on the subject. Each one of the paper consists of 500 to 1,000 words. We could sit and dissect each paper separately. So it's each chapter attacks certain aspect of the algorithm's flow with a high level of specificity. So there's one paper I'm centered on primarily derivational and inflectional morphology. Prefix, suffix, infix, circumfix, right? In terms of like the word blackbird. Blackbird as a compound word, blackbird separated by a hyphen, and blackbird with a space. And the search engine's algorithms' inability to differentiate these 3 definitions. It's sort of unequivocal. It disambiguates the meaning when the variances of the ambiguity itself should actually be augmented. So this is a project I'm pitching for major corporation. I'm kind of behind time in it because there's a number of different areas that kind of explore in these areas, which one is primarily natural language generation. And there's a number of different big stuff happening. So I'm kind of behind time, but I'm focused on a tiny little niche. So go ahead, ask me whatever you want. How you all like my green freaking socks? Yo, is that camera on me?
That one is.
Sweet. I look so cute. Yeah. I could kiss myself. Ladies, where the bitches at? So go ahead.
Speaking of the ladies, you know, between comedy and these algorithms and the papers you're publishing, do you have much time for dating?
For women?
Yeah.
No.
Well, do you ever think that maybe you should, you know, scale back some of the other things to make time for personal relationships?
No. Yeah, sure. Sure. Ladies, where you at? Come and holler at your magnificent boy. So.
Because I mean, you know, you know a lot about algorithms and like.
I don't actually know anything about algorithm actually.
But you know how to like take something apart and look at all the different parts and see how it works and stuff. Seems like you could maybe like really game OkCupid, or like you could really, I don't know.
I have a number.
You could use your powers for evil.
I find women intriguing on a mental and a spiritual level. When I connect with women, it's never physical or sexual, because I think sexual is, this is more centered around infatuation. With me, it's about connecting, more like a psyche connection, connecting on a whole different level. So
you're not into the physical at all? Not into the physical at all? Just some people are really.
Physicality is a tiny aspect of it, I think.
So Atelston, I see you, you know, we ran into each other at Hollywood Boulevard. I've seen you when I was working as a tour guide up at different scenic overlooks and stuff. You're always like hanging out around Hollywood. So what's your, like, run us through your schedule in the day. Like, what time do you get up in the morning?
I'm unpredictable, I'm spontaneous.
Okay.
I'm sort of on the high functioning autistic spectrum here. So a lot of my psychological states sort of fluctuate. Like, I'm the authentic real deal. Like, I have all the attributes of what some in psychology they deem spectrum disorder, but you know, you name it. The pedantic vocabulary, the verbosity, the antisocial disorder, the inability to mimic social cues. So.
You're antisocial?
Well, yes and no. Some perceive me as antisocial. Others perceive me as socially inept, eccentric, or whatever the labels are. I think it's all irrelevant if you ask me.
I think it's, everyone is antisocial sometimes, and then sometimes they're, you know, it's like astrology, where all of these things could describe anyone. You know, everyone's multifaceted.
Right, because I was just going to highlight that you made a vaguely inexplicable definition. Right, so you could apply it in any context.
Yeah.
So I would like to just deviate from this stuff again. Just for clarification, I don't build algorithm. The algorithm is centered around computer programming languages and mathematical equations.
These are just your observations.
These are computational inputs to augment its effect, because this algorithm is predicated on language. It uses language inputs and outputs, right? Because when you do a search and you type in the word bad, right? It's bad actually is a paradox. You have the denotational and you have the connotational meaning of a word. Denotational is the fundamental meaning. Connotation is how the word evolved and taken on a new definition as society evolve as a collective group. And bad is a sort of paradoxical word, because bad has negative connotations. But this has to do now with the sociological aspect of linguistics. In certain cultures, bad is deemed as an optimistic term. Like,
I'm bad.
Yo, that's
I'm
like
bad.
Michael Jackson created this sort of paradox. Right, like, yo, that's a badass shoe. Right, algorithms can't differentiate. It's unequivocates that. It doesn't understand stuff like paradox. So what is required for these things is a set of, and I create a set of computational inputs, right, that will convert into equations or programming language, which I know a little bit of C++, and which is a different subject altogether. How to convert these languages, right, to create these inputs. So it could be more, so an algorithm could primarily be more efficient. When you do searches, it's more efficient. Right, so.
Okay.
But back to our subject with us on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm going to talk my ass off on this show.
Oh, yeah, you're doing a fine job at it.
Yeah, so good.
And it's a great ass, so.
I have a great ass?
Yeah.
I have a great ass?
And you're talking it off. So.
Oh, okay.
That's how I know, is you talked it off, so I'm looking at it right here.
So.
Okay, so you're really knowledgeable about linguistics and stuff like that. I can tell that you have a great intellectual understanding of that.
I wouldn't say so. I think I've only, again, I think knowledge and the acquisition of information is always a paradoxical experience, because the more you experience, the less you feel like you know. So I'm sort of in a very humble state, because I only feel like I've scraped the surface. Each one of these papers I've written, right, will take decades to evolve. Mm-hmm. It's a continuous evolving process. I think what I have done has started a sort of, I don't know if revolution is the appropriate term, right? But I think it's something that would be integrated into post-humanism.
So in these decades as it's happening, so there's this going on, slowly in the background, but then on a practical level, you've got to eat, you got to put a roof over your head, you got to put gas in your car, you got to write jokes.
How do I make money?
Well, not even that, but where do the two overlap? Like you have this, philosophical understanding.
That's not philosophy so much. If you get into
physical
stuff like
understanding, whatever, but you have a cognitive understanding, but then there's also everyday life stuff, getting along with people, making it through the system. Where's the overlap in those two things?
Okay, when we get into that area, we're dealing with areas that outside the realm of scientific methods. So this is where I transcend into areas like metaphysics and phenomenology. Ideas like cause and effect, synchronicity, serendipity.
Are those things measurable?
They are not. Right, so this is what separates me from a lot of specifically scientists or other different experts, is because I kind of have an objective view of things, right? And I don't exclude any ideal concept from out of the equation. And these areas we're dealing with is sort of empirical. Within the scientific method, the premise is centered around, well, one aspect is inferential data and theoretical data. This is empirical, because synchronicity is sort of contingent on a sort of empirical subjective evidence, right, that you cannot validate for someone objectively, because synchronicity sort of derives from not only the cause and effect, the manifestation of intentions, but there's a relationship between something that's intrinsic and something that's extrinsic. So this is what separates synchronicity from, let's say, coincidence. Coincidences is when there's a correlation between mutually exclusive events or scenarios. Right? Synchronicity and serendipity is kind of the same, but there's a sort of synergy between what's intrinsic and what's extrinsic, and with what gives that sort of subjective attributes. So, you want to know what I do when I'm not doing science? I'm sort of in these areas, studying these sort of areas. Like I've read the book, hope I'm not speaking too much, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot, which is an intriguing book because there's so many aspects of the brain that's a conundrum. And it becomes demystifiable when the holographic theory is used as an analogy or a metaphor to demystify many aspects of the brain, which deem as a conundrum. Prime example is when you fragment a hologram, it still remains a whole, right, in its tiniest fragment, right? There was a study done where they ran rats through a maze. I can't regurgitate this verbatim for verbatim, but I remember reading this from the Holographic Universe book. And certain aspect of the rat's brain was extracted, and yet the rat was still capable of retaining his memory prior to the removal of certain parts of the brain. So this postulates that memory is sort of dispersed across. It's to put this into perspective is when you start looking at the universe from a holographic perspective, our perceptions begin to change, because then we start looking at, is this is just a solid illusion. So I kind of, outside the realm of science, I'm sort of in this area. When I have these strange occurrences, I try to put it into perspective. Does the thoughts manifest? But then I study a number of different improbabilities. I study a number of different improbabilities, and over 90% of high improbabilities seems to be predicated on the same sort of merits, where the manifestation was the precondition or the prerequisite prior to the intention. So how could thoughts manifest itself if manifestation was the precondition? It's equivalent to remember the MacGyver television show in the 90s?
Yes.
Right. MacGyver, all his, when he eluded his enemies, right? These were actual scientific stuff he was doing, right? But he had all these external concepts, all these external objects to facilitate his needs. In these, like How I Met You on Hollywood Boulevard, it kind of felt the same. So when you have a manifest, like a prior example is, I got into this dialogue with this guy in Mulholland Drive. We're looking at the panoramic view of Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And you know up there, right? And we got into the same sort of discourse. And he kind of, he's this huge advocate of coincidences and random occurrences, and giving enough chaos narrative will occur inevitably, right? Fine. So he put me to the test. He said, I'm testing you. You challenge me, right? Just instantaneously challenge me. He said, I want to see a big, colorful bird in front of me right now, right? Which I felt subjugated to something that I am incapable of manifesting. So I felt like a fool. Again, it's adolescence, so they walk away very condescending, dancing and singing. You'd not believe what this guy did. You would not believe what this guy did.
What do you do?
He reached into his jacket, he pulled out a big, colorful bird, so whistle, and he blew it in a very poetic format, and he walked away dancing, just like, remember in Dead Poets Society with Robert Williams, and the kids sang and coming out of the cave, and he danced away walking, right?
I thought you didn't want to talk about movies.
But you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And they walked away completely jaded. I said, wow, there's a bird. It manifested. So the manifestation was prerequisite. There was preconditions met before the intentions. So then, based on all these improbabilities, you see where manifestation is the precursor before the intention. So then you begin to question something much bigger. Okay, is there some sort of external divine intervention that seems to be kind of... No, we could get into quantum mechanics and subatomic particles and
We'll have
that
to
sort of
save
stuff.
that for your third hour on
We
the
have to
show.
save that for the third hour. Is that an
I
hour
did.
already?
We're almost done, but you had a show tonight, right?
I murdered. Yo,
Well, let's hear some jokes.
Yo.
I met you in the comedy scene. Let's hear, no quantum search engines, let's hear some
quantum
jokes.
search engine. Let's kill this pretentious bullshit conversation now. So can I give some jokes?
Yeah.
He got the song, la 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 la, Elmo song, la 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 la, la 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 la, Elmo song, la la la, la 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 la, that's Elmo's word.
You need a Cookie Monster?
Cookie, what starts with C? Cookie starts with C. Let's think of all the things that start with C. C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C.
That's more of an impression than a joke.
Impression impulse. Did I make someone in the studio laugh?
I think they were laughing at my
I made you laugh? Thanks. So, what you need now?
observation. But like, do you have like a pun-related joke? Like
I don't
your
give
signature?
puns. Puns is for unprofessional comedians.
That's your like
I know.
your thing.
I know.
Stream the DVD and the
Yeah.
salad dressing and.
Yeah. I have events. Okay,
Come on,
so,
end us on a joke, Atelston. Come on.
so I went to see the Phantom of the Opera.
Opera.
I went to see the Phantom of the... What the frick? Huh? So I went to see the Phantom of the... I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I have bipolar, so you're all going to experience multiple personalities. So I went to see the Phantom of the Opera, right? And I couldn't see it because the Phantom of the Opera was No. Hold on. Can I start over? I went to see the Phantom of... I went to see the Phantom. Shut up. I went to see the Phantom of the. I'm freaking killing it, yo. Yeah. So I went to see the Phantom of the. Shut your freaking mouth. Don't piss off this West Indian man, you know. I went to see the Phantom of the Opera, but I couldn't see it because the Phantom of the Opera was a phantom. That's the punchline. That's the joke.
Atelston, thank you so much for coming on the
That's
show.
it?
I'm glad. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Frick. We didn't get to crack the nut.
Maybe next time.
Tune in next time, where the all-encompassing, magnificently splendid Atelston Fitzgerald Holder I cracks the nuts. See you next time.
Thank you all for watching. Again, perfect example. What a man seeth in others, he seeth in himself.
Philosophy, my friend.
Thank you.
Existentialism or epistemology?
Both.
Ontology.
All of it. All of the above.
Too many freaking big words. Why are you so pretentious? This guy is so pretentious.
Yeah.
I don't like pretentious people, you know.
Thank you. We'll see you next week. Remember, everyone, there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.
You had fun? Thank you.
You know, I do have a question. You said that you have problem noticing certain social cues or things like that. You said, but
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, you said well.
I did. Go ahead. Continue. No, go ahead.
But all right, I was just wondering if
I got
you've been interested in quantifying all those types of those sorts of cues into